Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's non-episode. Oh, I'll poof the hair that way, actually. So, it's crunch time right now. I'm kind of working on things. We've been working hard towards the release of the project I'm working on, which is my dream. And in doing so, unfortunately, I wasn't really able to guarantee that I'll have the entire hour here to work on the project, or to broadcast and not be working on the project. But things are kind of being passed and forth, back and forth between various different people. Stuff's in the works, and I got it. Basically, I'm just able to kind of talk for a little bit until the ball gets passed back to me, and it's time to get back on with the next sort of thing. So, been a little bit of a lull in the action, so I was able to at least pop on for a moment here. So, everybody in the audience there, hello, and thank you very much for coming. Really appreciate it. Not really sure if anybody's there. I didn't really advertise too hard today anyway. Oh well. Let's see, who is here? I see a Serial, Kilryu, AR-45H, Nices, Cadavari, DiGello, Xbox Rom Hunt, Wick, and I won Papier. So, crunch time. So this is something that basically I kind of want to talk about the blueprint a little bit and why it's, I'm not going to say bull, but why it's it's a loose sort of thing at best. And honestly, it's that, you can have the best of plans, and then things come up, things don't work out exactly as you want them to, and you're coming close to a deadline, and things still aren't quite working exactly as they need to be. So that's kind of the situation we're in here. We've been things have been pretty much ready to go, except some of the really major features, and I'm not going to say specifically what they are. Needed a little bit of fine tuning. A little bit of fine tuning has turned into a lot of bit of fine tuning. So we've been working pretty hard at it here. I'm really excited with what we're going to show. We're going to be having a much better product because of all the extra time and experimentation that's gone in. But at the same time, anybody who is looking for, the specific date and the specific features to be delivered at that time, they're kind of left waiting. So it's kind of an interesting situation, interesting thing to have to compromise on, really, because you got to get the product out there, but at the same time, it you can't not have the features that it needs to have, especially if they're really critical features. So now let's talk about the landmark blueprint a little bit and kind of extrapolate on that. The idea that they're going to have certain things in at certain times is 100% contingent on everything, working perfectly the first time it's implemented and not needing reviews and revisions and more work and more optimization later on. With some of the things that might even be completely unreasonable, it might be just getting a basic system that works no matter how big and taxing it is, and then spending time over the next few months making it more efficient, where they instead could have waited a few months before putting it in the first place and had it come out a lot cleaner then, but also not be able to get the same kind of feedback that was essentially possible with players getting the first iteration, being able to comment on it and give feedback. So it's definitely a balancing act with all of this sort of stuff. And having, really looking back at the history of Landmark here, from when it was first put in our hands and the blueprint we were given then versus where we're at now, we've come quite a long way, and a lot of really good work has been done. I hope you folks appreciate the shirt, by the way. GG noob. Yeah, I've had this shirt for like years and years, but anyway. So, by the way, of course, if anybody has any questions or anything that you wanted me to answer about, by all means, shoot, go right ahead. DK, how's it going? Calm? Hey, hey, hey. Thanks. Yeah, it's from a one of the earlier 3D monitor companies. Unreal 2K4 on that thing looked really, really cool. I could really actually see where the things were at and do the what's it called, the shock rifle combo where you shoot out the orb and then hit it with the beam. It's really hard to do that when you're not lined straight up on it, but having the 3D monitor made it actually possible to properly adjust my aim and hit those orbs, in the distance after I had strafed out of the way. So pretty cool. It was actually advantageous. It wasn't just a gimmick to make things in 3D. That's neat. Eventually we'll get to that point with a lot more games, but yeah, Kadavara, you must have gone to the same convention. I got it from, it was SIGGRAPH in 28 or 2010. I think it was 2008. Give a shout out on the line tool. Rogue Comet showed how you can use a flat wall to fix artifact ink. This build so pretty now. A flat wall to fix artifact ink. Okay, I can see that. But some of the angles and some of the stuff that I work with on making things with the line tool is like a large base here, and then way over somewhere here, a smaller point where it kind of meets up. And yeah, it's chunky up along the way. Dragon Con 2009. Okay, cool deal. So yeah, it's been pretty eventful. We've been pretty much in grind mode on the project here. It's in fact up there, crunch time. Don't tell my boss. I don't think he would mind that much, but that's why it's not actually going to be a full episode, and why I didn't really put in all the prep and effort. I didn't really have the time to put in all the prep and effort. I literally just slapped everything together and popped on. Is like, do I want to change into the EQ next to tire, get the Nagy hat on? Nah, let's just do this. Yeah, so going back to the blueprint now, there's another thing that I kind of want to comment on that was a little bit interesting. Going back to when water was first being talked about, they had said, the guy working on water is off on his own, doing his own thing, and once he's finished doing that thing and water is awesome, he'll be able to loop back with the rest of the team, and we'll be able to start integrating the stuff. And it's awesome to be able to do that. I mean, that's an engineer's dream, to just be able to have their own environment, their own branch that they're working in, and do everything they need, and then once it's solid, merge it in with the rest of the project that's already been, continuing to go on and continue to be worked on. Of course, not having water until we had water meant anything that people would have wanted water for, we wouldn't have had up to that point, and any features that would have required it would have been available by that point. And the only other feature other than having oceans and voxel water is, I guess, the swimming and stuff. So, it didn't really end up being that big of a deal. They released it when they released it, and, hasn't really been much gone on with water since then. In fact, I was hoping we'll see some more fluids and, maybe things of different colors and different viscosity, with fluids coming up sometime soon. Alright, Murin, hey, Stoneglade. Jeez, everybody's got red names today. Is that some sort of theme going on, or is it just luck of the randomizer? It's like Murin and DK were the only ones that didn't have that going. Not creating new voxels. You click on a flat face, drag across. We'll realign the voxels in between. Oh, neat. Oh, you're talking about the master key technique or whatever, skeleton key, the one where it's just flat line segments. Because that one's pretty useful. Red Name Wednesday. I actually saw some what was it? Some selfies of some priests or whatever, with the little Ash Wednesday crosses on their head, and it looked pretty creepy, actually. time, some people in the community is completely ridiculous, thinking as a player they're the boss of Daybreak and to do everything they say. Well, it's it's an interesting dynamic. They are taking feedback from us, they are taking cues from us, and they know that if it doesn't make us happy, then it's not going to be successful. But at the same time, people need to realize, yeah, just because they're a loud voice and they might even have good opinions on things, doesn't mean that their specific things are going to be addressed, or their specific things can even be addressed. I remember maybe it was August, September or so, maybe it was even before then, when I saw hordes of people in the Landmark Lives channel said, we need PvP. If this game doesn't have PvP, it's going to fail, and all of this stuff. And then when we got PvP, it's like, great, we can fight each other. It's an unfinished system, clearly, but you know what? It's going to be the first iteration of combat, because we aren't ready to put the mobs in. So, PvP went in, and the crowds that were asking for that, they actually moved on to a different subject. So, just because they put it in didn't mean it was right, and it was something that they had wanted too, but that doesn't necessarily, it's not where combat should be. It's not where the team wants combat to be, even. I think at this point we're pretty much all in agreement that the combat system has some issues to it and definitely needs some modification. And they've said that. I believe they said actually that the combat system is nowhere near where they want it, and they're going to be doing a lot of modification to it. But that's a long process. Combat isn't something you just snap your fingers and things happen with. There's a lot of moving parts that go into that. I mean, hell, we can't even teleport somewhere and not die properly. So to have more advanced systems in combat, it's take the things as we need to get them. But and that is something that I really hope they fix soon, is the teleporting deaths. It's just ridiculous. Anything. But almost never will anything be what a person has in their mind. Well, it's like, draw a picture of something and then try to find that object in the world, and then compare your drawing to whatever that is. You're right. There's no way that something is. You're trying to predict, basically. You're trying to predict something in kind of a living and evolving environment. And then the other thing with that is games, live games. It's not like you just do it once and that's it. It's constantly being upgraded and modified and iterated on, rebalanced, retuned, being made ready for more systems to go in. So something might be the way someone imagines it at some point, and then it gets changed, and it's like, oh crap, it's not what I wanted it to be anymore. But no, you're right about that. Hashtag aliens. Your color is random because you're on mobile, but you're always purple. Wonder if they should have waited another 6 months to a year to release alpha. Oh, if they could have project and funding wise, if they could have done that, that probably would have helped in a lot of ways. But at the same time, the efficiency they would have had with not having an open development process for that 6 months would have also been countered by the fact that they didn't have us in there breaking things, messing things around, finding all the stuff that can be done with voxels, so that they can go through and kind of learn from it and build systems into the engine to anticipate for it better. I mean, once again, in January, they had no idea what microvoxels and macrovoxels were, and offsets and all of that stuff. We did. I'm not going to say we invented, all of that stuff so much as that we found the way to make the system do those things in a regular and predictable way, rather than something that's generated or otherwise. we took what was there and made something awesome and gave them the tools and the fuel to kind of experiment and extrapolate on it and be able to fine tune things. So I'm really happy about what they've been able to do. But you know, it's tough. It's tough, Katavari. Whether they did the closed or whether they did the open, it would definitely be at a different point if they did it differently. But I'm not sure if it would necessarily be any further, or some things would have been further and some things wouldn't. Because remember, we are, you know, the big QA base. We are the big test base. We are where a lot of the information and analytics is coming from. It's a lot better to get the results from actual players with actual, you know, hardware configurations than, you know, thousands of simulations trying to do the same sort of thing. You can get close, but it's never one for one, and you're going to miss a lot of other things like hardware bugs that are specific to certain systems too. There's a lot to it. There's a lot to it. So, you know, the idea that the system got, you know, that it didn't work for whatever reason, people didn't really think that the blueprint did what it needed to do. I think just really misunderstand what the blueprint was there for. It isn't. That's not their production schedule. That's not hard dates and deadlines. It never was. It was always there to let us have a bit of an idea of what's coming up, so we can theory craft about it and give our ideas, and, you know, they can read some of that, get some inspiration from us on what we want to see, or on, you know, products that have approached it that they might want to, you know, try out or at least investigate. Yeah. It's yeah, I feel like I'm just kind of rambling here. Like I said, I didn't really have anything prepared. The phone call kind of broke my concentration. But yeah, just kind of going at it and talking about this and that. So, was there anything in particular anybody had questions about with Landmark? I mean, we got some more stuff coming in the update yesterday. We got some new materials. We've got sci-fi shutter doors coming pretty soon, so I'm really happy about that. It's like a Denny's roadmap. It has points of interest, but it's not to scale. Nice. There you go. It's to give us an idea of what's coming up, but it's definitely not, you know, these things come at this time in this order. Drunk stream where the two of you guys are discussing the origin of life and religion. She has mentioned that you work for a game company. Do I work for Daybreak, the company that took over? I work for My Dream, which is a game company that makes I will say, competitive product to Landmark. It's a different sort of voxel terrain sandbox sort of game, procedural and very dynamic. The difference is you have worlds to yourself. It's not you know, all the worlds that you get to claim a little piece of. You spin up a world, you create a new world, it's yours. And then eventually we'll have more advanced admin permissions. Right now you can drop permission blocks everywhere and keep people from locking stuff off. But yeah, you can build all the way across your worlds. It's pretty awesome. But yeah, the other thing is Daybreak Games didn't take over SOE. SOE is now Daybreak Games. Columbus Nova is the company that took over, I guess, financial liability for what was SOE in the, you know, purchasing it from you know, Sony Corporation. So Columbus Nova now, you know, they're the ones with the pocketbooks and you know, own the rights to the, I guess, to the properties and stuff. But Daybreak is still its own independent company that gets to do what it wants to do. Shatari, Serial, hey. Let's see. We didn't get an animated preview of the doors. Yeah, they probably didn't show us an animated preview of the doors because they aren't fully rigged up yet. But as soon as they are, I'm sure they'll just put it right in for us. Yeah, cereal. You and the drunkenness, sir. Oh yeah, were you that red? Cereal's a redneck, huh? Yeah. You're talking about news and more booze, I believe. Which we didn't have the episode last weekend. I was going to be a guest, so hopefully we'll be able to do it this weekend. Okie dokie. But yeah, that's what I work on. That's, I say I'm in crunch time. We're in crunch time. At any time I could get the call. All right, we got a test build ready for you, and then just got to sign off. So that's why I'm keeping this one informal. Right. I hope the phone doesn't go off again. That was super loud. Actually, I can just turn the volume off on that, I think. Nope. Should be a show this weekend. Cool. All right. So we've got the Q&A coming up. The Landmark and EverQuest Next official big team get together Q&A. It should be very interesting, very informative. They're going to be answering a lot of questions. They're going to be skipping a lot of questions because I looked over that list and there's a lot of great questions. There's a lot of great questions being asked a lot of times in a lot of different ways. There's also a lot of really bad questions or things that are just downright like accusatory or even threatening, offensive. I actually reported a couple people. It's like, nah, this guy's a jerk. Get him out of here. Let's see. Last weekend, you drank too much on Friday and skipped all of Saturday. Yeah, I understood something like that happened. So, what do you folks think about, I guess, the Q&A itself, the fact that they're doing these team Q&As for pretty much all of their projects right now? I really like it. I really think it's definitely a good way to kind of get everyone on board and let everybody kind of know, yeah, stuff's changed with the company. There's still a lot of great stuff going on, and it's still, still a lot of good people doing a lot of good work. Do you think they'll hold a meeting? Yes, Stoneglade, that's what they were saying, is they were planning to do something along those lines, is try to find a big space to be able to film in and get everybody together. Now, the space H1Z1 uses would be great, except when they're not doing a big H1Z1 Q&A, that's where all of their cubicles and everything are at, so they'd be kind of displaced for a little while, at least some of the folks, if the area is taken over for EverQuest Next and Landmark Q&A. There's plenty of places in their buildings that are large enough to, to house the entire team to get discussions and stuff going. It's just how decorated are they? How ready for film are they? So they'll figure it out. That's on them. They got the hard work under control, and it should be really cool. It'll be great to have the entire team together, or at least a really big portion of it, and getting answers specifically from the people that are working on the stuff. I think it's a good PR thing to do. However, some people don't get the questions answered. Are going to scream conspiracy theory? That's a great point, Katavari, and I feel like anybody who has a truly legitimate question that doesn't get it answered should follow up on the forums and should follow up on the Landmark Live and EQ workshop stuff, because there are definitely plenty of opportunities to ask the questions. This is just the first time they've done one of these giant formal Q&As with the team, instead of it being, send us a few questions for the next Landmark Live. So, if your question gets missed, there's definitely opportunities to get it answered. Oh, the way H1C1 has been doing their live shows, excited to see something like that from the stream. Yeah, that'll be really cool. After the Sony hacking, I don't blame SOE from distancing themselves altogether. It wasn't their decision. The hacking didn't really affect them because that was, the Sony Pictures stuff. But, yeah, there had been other problems with Sony along the way anyway. But it isn't that. It was that SMED was able to seal the deal with Columbus Nova, that they were able to finalize something that was agreeable for them and then move forward rather than continuing to negotiate or potentially having to shop for another investor and having the whole process take even longer. It's something that kind of had to be done because SOE wasn't going to be getting support from Sony Corporation anymore. Sony Corporation, between the hacks and didn't they make like some stupid like $1,200 Walkman sort of thing, basically? If I'm not mistaken, that was another Sony blunder that really hit their pockets. So they were already looking to drop what they had considered, I guess, not necessarily dead weight, but a constant loss. So part of the challenge of getting them picked up by an investor is also that it does need to turn a profit. So there's a lot of combining factors to why it was done the way it was done and when it was done and how it was done. I don't really think it's an issue. I think it's still, in the long run, a pretty good thing. And it sucks to lose the people from the team that we lost from the team, but they're still going to be around in different capacity. Dave is still playing the game. He's not going to leave. He loves Landmark. So, there's still a lot of the awesome folks that were working on it before, and the fact that it's still the largest combined team, the EverQuest Next Landmark team, than any of the other teams. It's still in a good place. It's just not going to have the exact same people, calling the shots and communicating to us as we had before. All right, yes. Serial, I don't know. There's probably some lingering contracts and other stuff that might prevent it, but at the same time, they say, if you're not working for them, you can do it. So, yeah, we might see Dave approach Player Studio a bit. I don't know what he'd be doing with it. Let's see. There was somebody I knew, and I'm not going to say who it was, who is a contractor, not from Player Studio stuff, with SOE. And with that, they weren't able to do Player Studio. So I don't know really how it's going to work out for something like that for anybody. 6 months minimum, you're probably right, yeah. Most open game development you've seen. People should feel privileged to have this level of interaction with the team. Complaining about not getting more questions answered, it seems silly to me. Yeah, I know, Shatari. I'm not going to say this is the most open development, because there are indie developers who they're literally putting the code out there for you to look at. Like they're working things live. If they have a problem, they'll ask, and if you know the answer and you can help them out, they'll use that solution. So it's among AAA developers. Yes, it's really hard to say that there's been, this close to development. Maybe Warframe was this close, but in terms of indie devs being open, I don't want to say a dime a dozen because that sounds cheap, but there are massive multitudes of indie developers out there who have an incredibly open process and are really, really inviting to people, to anybody who wants to see and wants to participate. Outstride. Yes, here. Well, I mean, there's probably some restrictions. Some people can, some people can't. Yes, keyboards are lovely. Keyboards are way better than phones. Yeah, I hope so too, Catavari. Oh, geez, that'd be no good. Don't watch me rant and drive now. Um, Actually, hashtag aliens, that's not true. One of them in particular, I'm not going to quote the amount of money that he's been able to earn for the project since it first launched, or since it first started, actually. He's doing well. He's doing just fine. If he needed to pay for assistance, he could pay for assistance. If he wanted a second opinion from, specific investor people, whatever, he can do it. He doesn't have to. It's there's a lot of great projects out there that aren't actually in a bad state. They're not all on like the I'm not going to say in constant begging mode, but there's a lot of projects out there that are they're well funded enough that I'm sure the developer is able to continue working on them and do just fine at it. I mean, just one I'm going to throw out there, Windward. I have no idea the numbers, but man, that game it's pretty awesome, and I've seen a lot of different people playing it. I'd have to wager he's doing all right with it. It only launched in, I think, was it August? No, August is when he started on it last year. Velix loves that game. He just absolutely cracked out when he got it. Like, within a week or two, he already put 60 hours into it. There's some indie devs that have been working solo for 15 years. Oh yeah, oh yeah. 2D Heroes, the maker of Bit Brawlers. Andrew Sandifer, I believe. He actually, I first knew him as the Village Blacksmith on FlashGameLicense.com, maybe about 8 years ago. And I got to, knowing him then, but didn't realize, later on, oh, hey, it's the same guy, until we're kind of talking about it a bit. It's like we found each other, already been linked up on Facebook or on LinkedIn. So I was like, wait a minute, there is something familiar about you. So it turns out that he was doing the Indie Flash dev thing. He was making a project every month, every 3 months, whatever, selling it, or mostly selling it or taking up contract work and then completing on it, and living the Indie Flash developer lifestyle. I should be very specific, because that was a kind of a specific time in game history. That was maybe about 2005 to 2009, when that was really actually viable. Because Flash wasn't much. I mean, maybe before 2005, there's still Macromedia and some of the cool games and stuff on there. Yeah. Yeah, there are a lot of solo indie devs out there who have been doing it for a while. I don't know about Fruit, PHR00T, if he has a day job and he makes his games in his off time, or if his day job is working on his entire franchise. Was it 3059, 3069, 3079, 3089, 4089, and then recently Spermination as well. Don't ask why. I was getting a few beeps and boops from work there, so I might need to wrap it up here pretty soon. And yeah, one of the best parts of indie games is they aren't giant corporations think they know best, the gamers. Okay, now here's the other thing with indie corporations or indie developers, is a lot of them can iterate on an idea on a project And if it's great, they can extrapolate on it and make something that's fantastic. Or if it's something that it isn't working out, they can just move on and, take what they learned from it and move on to the next project. But the idea of indie developers having the time, having the ambition, having the opportunity to invent, compared to a AAA studio, definitely indies by leaps and bounds have the advantage there. They might not have the same resources, they might not be able to make the same size and the same scale, but they can make some things that are absolutely amazing and, truly unique, and it doesn't actually have to be something very complex. Super Hexagon, it's a great reflex game if you don't have photosensitivity or anything. It's just left and right and, spacebar to advance things, but it's super difficult, it's really engaging, and it's actually rewarding to play because your hand-eye coordination improves. That's just a simple example. Or hell, Depression Quest. It's not a fun game, but it's a good game. It's basically, the idea is that you're trying to play through the kind of the everyday life of somebody who's living with crippling depression. And you'll see that, a lot of things that somebody might, a rational person might do, it isn't an option that's available. It'll be, grayed out that you can't select it until you get the character to a better state of mind that they can make those choices. Like I said, it's not a fun game. It's really, really tough to play at times, but it is a damn good game. FTL. FTL is amazing. It's like, take the idea of maybe a minimized version of Star Trek and, turn it into a game. You're going around, you can respond to distress beacons, you can try to help people, you can make trades, a lot of battles here and there. And that was made by some folks, some former developers from 2K China. It's an awesome project. I love it. Yes, and Serial, a lot more people need to play a lot more indie games, that's for sure. Cash grab. Never like to invest in Phil Fish. Yeah, I agree with you. Phil Fish is kind of a schmuck. I appreciate the anti-Gamergate and trying to fight against the the vast misogyny of the internet, but beyond that, he doesn't even he's got a very interesting idea of economics and stuff. Like, his idea of people streaming his game is that they should pay him, that if you're making money because you bought my game and you're making a show with it or doing a broadcast with it, I should be getting that money, not you. And that's asinine and a half. It's acinate, the cleaning chemical. Actually, no, that's acetone. Anyway, jokes. But anyway, I 100% disagree with him on a lot of that stuff, and in some ways, I appreciate Indie Dev the movie and being able to try to expose people to a little bit of some of the pressure of being an indie developer. On the other hand, it did kind of blow out Phil Fish's ego and made people think that that's what it means to be a game developer. Yeah, that too, hashtag. I definitely disagree with the guy. But the people that are making that were innovating in the 80s, they're still innovating. Carmack, Romero, people from Doom and from id, they're still doing. Carmack's freaking was the VP of something for Oculus Rift, so that's pretty awesome. Richard Garrett, he's making another Ultima game, Shroud of the Avatar. That guy's he's literally been innovating on games since before I was born. They might not necessarily be exactly what people are looking for sometimes. Ultima Online had a lot of awesome features to it. It was a great sandbox game. The problem is we weren't ready for sandboxes. Maybe MUD players were, but graphical MMO players were not ready for a sandbox in the early 90s. In the mid 90s, it's only now that, I think people are really able to go back and truly appreciate it for what it was. You'd rather buy something you can play immediately, even if it's just an alpha? I can agree with you there, Cadavari. It is nice to be able to play with things. Yes, cool. Peter Molyneux is still alive. Last I checked. John Carmack might actually be some sort of alien robot. Might not? Oh. I don't know. But yeah, and then FTL did so well that there's actually a game on the way right now called Solar Crusaders. That it seems almost like a 4X using the model of FTL, but it's a multiplayer sort of thing rather than a single player sort of thing. I'm really excited for it. Huh. Let's see. Read something over here real quick. Okay, wait a second. That's not good. Oh. Okay. Sorry, folks. That was once again. It's crunch time. I need to be, reading this stuff. Jeez, but yeah, we've been working hard on getting My Dream released, and it's in the process of where we thought we were going to be able to release it and where we're at now, and not only how much extra time it's taken, but the extra stuff that's gone into it because we've had this little bit of extra time. It really makes me appreciate the difficulty, and going back to the previous discussion, the challenge and the difficulty of making a multiplayer game, creative sandbox with an open development sort of cycle, or open development platform rather. 4X is what? Expand, explore, exploit, and exterminate, I believe. Like, how there's RTS games that are just on a limited map and that's all the game is, and then there's RTS games where it's like this giant space and you're constantly fighting back and forth for control. It's not something where you're easily going to win. Yeah, that's what a 4X game. I think of like Heroes of Might and Magic, but that's not even that's more of just a turn-based strat, honestly. There's a ton of 4Xs out there. Sword of the Stars, for example, that's what they're all about. And then they had some spin-offs. Not Dungeon of the Endless, but one of the games from the Endless series or style has a 4X to it. Am I looking forward to No Man's Sky? I was so disappointed when I saw that it was going to be on PS4 first, because I'm like, man, that means those schmucks are going to be the ones giving the not schmucks, I mean PS4 users are the ones that are going to be giving the first iterations of feedback that the developers are going to be iterating on. It's not going to be from the PC base, and I'm not going to say that one group or another is necessarily better, but personally, I think the limitations that people see when they're playing a console game and suggesting for it are a lot tighter and a lot more kind of narrow in spectrum than when people are talking about a PC game and how it can be expanded and improved upon. Yeah, right? But I'm pretty sure it was an exclusivity thing, hashtag, unless they've changed their tone on it. I really hope they have. but it sounded like No Man's Sky was going to be a PS4 exclusive, and that's why it was going to release there first. Yeah, PC does everything you need it to do. Consoles do just play games. Oh wait, they also let you listen to music, watch television, browse the internet. Oh, why wouldn't I just use a computer for that? Easier to program for consoles because it's only one set of hardware. Yes and no. While it's easier to program for the consoles because it is only one set of hardware, that really only matters with performance. That's the only place where I think it matters. Otherwise, you're still making the same game in the same way, regardless of where it's going to go. New Xbox was for watching sports ball. Sports ball is a Wii U game, actually. It's not on the Xbox yet. Probably Cadavari. I wouldn't see why not. Child filters, maybe. Yeah, this is why I don't like consoles. Build a top-of-the-line PC to get the best console on the market. Yeah, pretty much. So I'm going to upgrade my PC. Well, I mean, there's a lot of other advantages, like My Dream. We don't have all of the visual stuff linked up. So when I was doing recordings, I went into the video card settings, manually turned on anti-aliasing to the max, and some of the more advanced effects, and just cranked the hell out of that, and it looks a lot better. And then being able to use Shadowplay to record that, we got a lot cleaner footage than if I had just used OBS straight in the client with no modifications. So with the PC, you can do things above and beyond what you can do with a console in big ways. And I don't know about you folks, but if I had a console and not a PC, I wouldn't have the job I've got right now. I wouldn't be able to do it. My ability to earn money as a community manager and QA tester would not be possible on a console. Nope, nope, nope. So as a tool, among other things, as a tool for actual business and actual, big kid grown-up stuff, a computer is pretty worthwhile. Yeah, I know #aliens. There's definitely it's a consumer sort of thing, the consoles. There's definitely a lot of convenience, and I know some folks who do like to play games on consoles when they can, just because there is convenience to it, to some extent. But at the same time, you are limited from a lot of things because of the console, because it can only work in certain ways. Grew up with just a console, wouldn't have any typing skills, reading wouldn't be so high, spelling, grammar. My reading skills, actually, I had a 140 verbal IQ in first grade because I was playing RPGs with my family, like the Final Fantasy series, for example. If there was something I didn't understand, my brother or my father would explain it to me. But being a 6-year-old and, being able to play these games effectively, yeah, that stuff helps. I mean, by the time I was in, 9th grade, 10th grade, I was reading the Dragonlance series. I read the first 6 books. So, it's definitely... You can't run MAME on a console? Yes, that's true. There's a lot of advantages to PCs. Now, that's not to say that consoles didn't have their place. PCs weren't where they they aren't where they used to be. It used to be, computers were the thing for business and nothing else, and consoles were your big gaming systems. I would say over the course of the 90s is when we saw that shift, that instead of this is an NES and this is whatever you're playing PC games on, that this is the GameCube here, and PC is somewhere out here. Like when the GameCube was around, that was when the NVIDIA GeForce before the TI 4600s came out. That was what I used to run PlanetSide 1. That was what I used to run Tron 2.0. And those games looked great. They looked at or above console quality. First computer to your sophomore in college is definitely behind the times. Yeah, I could see that. Here's a subject. Crunch Valve is now intentionally censoring and limiting some users what they can link to friends on chat, like a website. Actually, I'm fine with that. The Last Warrior 99, anything that ends in .src or leads to a is it SRC or SCR? Definitely one of the two, that it's basically an invitation to get your stuff hacked. So I'm glad that they're actually taking that stance and they're actually doing some of that. I don't know the extent of everything that they're blocking and censoring, but that's fine. I might also have some censoring filters or something turned on anyway. That's no big deal. PCs have more games available than consoles. Well, PCs will always have more games available than consoles because we're able to go back and use emulators to play all the games that existed before. PCs even have, if you get into, what's it called? Mac games and stuff. That's another set of games that, if you want to get old school and get at your emulators and stuff, there's the Mac Venture package that Zojoy just recently put out, and it's basically all of their old games, Shadowgate and Deja Vu, and I think was Uninvited the other one, that they released way back in the day, like had to have been the 80s or the late 70s when they put them out. Being able to emulate those, being able to play everything that already exists and will exist in the future. And PCs have it cornered. They really do. Got in trouble spelling things based on European fantasy. Armor. Yeah, I could see that, Serial. It's definitely a sticking point when American education wants American verbiage and spelling of things. I mean, if I was in a class and I said, oh man, that pours slower than treacle. Some places in the country, they don't call it molasses and they call it treacle. I would have had a bunch of people staring at me thinking that I said some sort of weird bad word or something. Realistically, Valve will censor all they want on the messenger service. Yeah, that's true, Katavari. That is true. It's not like we're using an IRC to communicate. Damn. Well, I don't know. I totally didn't expect to be able to go this long. And to be perfectly honest, I need to get going. I've only been doing an hour for the shows anyway here, and I thought I was going to be called off to get some stuff done, to do some testing on some things and put out some fires, but it turns out it wasn't necessary. So I'm going to be jumping back in, though, and seeing where we're at in just a moment on work stuff. So if anybody wonders, yes, I do work at My Dream. I am the senior community, the community management lead, basically, and the QA lead, and I'm going to be interfacing with the community in a really, really big way when it launches. Just got to be constantly up front there, hanging out with people, visiting people's builds, and while they're in the act of building, arranging interviews and all sorts of stuff. It's going to be a lot of fun. Basically, all the stuff that a good community team does, I get to do all of it, and it's going to be a lot of fun. But this this wraps it up for me. So, I'm just going to kind of bring the party over here, everybody. See y'all later. Have a good one. Live feature review.